Into the third module we go of the blog builder. This is the first lesson and it's all about analytics, who, what, where, and this is real nitty-gritty stuff. As always, welcome to it. I'm Brad Brown. If you have any questions or comments, please pop them in the question bar next to this video. So we're going to chat about analytics today. In the next video, we'll talk about search engine optimization. And in the third lesson in this module, we'll talk about social media from two sides. How to get traffic from social media and how to get the visitors to your website to share your content. But we'll save that for the third lesson. So I mentioned that this is very sort of nitty-gritty stuff and quite technical. And in a nutshell, basically what analytics does is it just tracks who visits your website. And that's important for a few reasons. And obviously the first one is to figure out where they're from. So you can check where visitors are coming from around the country you're in, around the world. And you can also check how they found you, which is quite important. These sort of analytics, more than anything, I mean, they're vanity metrics in the greater scheme of things, and it's great to look at how many people visit your website, but it's great to be able to read into what these analytics actually tell you. And how they found you is pretty important. So if, for instance, you're getting a lot of traffic from Facebook, as an example, then you should focus a lot of time on spending more time on Facebook to drive more traffic, if that makes sense. So let's say you're spending lots of time on Facebook and you're not getting traffic, but all of a sudden in your analytics it's showing up that you're getting lots of traffic from Pinterest, as an example. That, to me, would say, you know what, maybe you shouldn't be focusing on Facebook, you should be focusing on Pinterest. So that's something that you can glean out of these analytics. And most importantly, the stat that I look at all the time is which are my most popular posts and pages on my website. And what that tells me is what is my audience resonating with. And then I try and recreate that and similar content along those sorts of lines. So I'll use the triathlon analogy once again. If I find out of the three disciplines, most of the traffic from my website is coming onto posts that are about swimming, then I know I need to create more swimming posts because that's driving more traffic. So sort of from a 50,000 foot view, that's what analytics can do. And let me tell you, you can dig into this and go down one serious rabbit hole when it comes to this sort of stuff. But I'm going to show you the basics, how to install the tracking code onto your website so that you can track from the start who's visiting your website. So let's head over to a web browser now, and we're going to check out Google Analytics because that is where this all comes from. Okay, so we've gone to a browser, and the web address you need to go to is just type it in, analytics.google.com, and hit enter, and you'll see it'll take you to a page where it'll ask you to sign up. If you have a Gmail account, you'll see in the top right hand corner here, that is my account, and it'll ask me to sign up. It's an interesting thing. My Google Analytics account's actually on another Google account. That's why it's asking me to set up. But once you've set this up, you only set this up once and then it's done. So basically what you need to do is you need to sign up. You then add the tracking code and you can learn about your audience. It is as simple as that. So if you hit the sign up button, and I'm going to go through this with you, it's absolutely free and it'll give you unbelievable insights into your web visitors. Okay, the first page you want to get to is it's asking you, would you like to track a website? Would you like to track a mobile app? So what you need to do is set up an account name. So I'm going to call this Blog Builder, okay? So I'm just calling it Blog Builder. I'm probably going to delete this and add it to my other one, but I want to show you how to do it. So your website name is Blog Builder. Actually, what we can do, if you're planning on having more sort of websites, so you can call it, my business name is called TalkFeed Media, so I'm going to put it under, so the overall account name is TalkFeed Media, the setup, the property is the website we want to track, so it'll fall under that umbrella. So later on, if I add a second website to TalkFeed Media, it'll still be within that account, and I'll just add a second website. I hope that makes sense. So HTTP, and you don't need to put in, it does it for you, builder.co.za. Okay, and then it asks you for the category, and you can choose one. So mine is going to be in the sort of internet space, so I need to try and find out internet and telecom. There you go. And then reporting time zone. Put the time zone that you live in. So I am in South Africa, and just type it in there. So if you live in the US, put in US. If you live in Australia, put in Australia, whatever it is. So put in the time zone. And then it asks you, do you want to share the data with Google. And this is, again, it's a privacy thing. I always say yes, because the more data we can get from these sort of things, and yes, Google does use it. I mean, you can go down this rabbit hole, and whether or not they use it for good or not is one of those things. So I always just leave them checked. And then what you do is you click Get Tracking ID. You then need to agree to the terms of service and choose the country, because the terms of service varies for the different countries. You've got to scroll through it all the way down to the bottom, and there we go. I accept. And there you have it. So it's now created the tracking or the actual tracking code. Now, before you do anything on here, okay, so this is under tracking ID. I'm going to cover this up because obviously this is mine, but it starts with UA and then it gives you a number, okay? So what you now want to do is go back to your dashboard and click plugins, okay, and then go add new, because we're going to add a plugin that literally does this for you. You don't have to copy and paste it. So what I'm going to do is just search for Google Analytics. And there we go. There are a few different ones, okay? So there's this one, which was last updated. It's 3.5 stars. There's this one, Google Analytics Counter Tracker, was last updated a week ago. There are lots again. I mean, it's one of those things that it doesn't, I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. And I'm just trying to see if there's any that I recognize that I've used on my other sites. But you know what? I'm going to go for this one just because it's got lots of installs, but it's... yeah, it's got a better rating. So I'm just going to go install now. It's compatible. I'm happy with that. And while it installs, yeah, it might take a couple of minutes. Okay, it's installed now. Let's activate it in the meantime. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have to link our Google Analytics account to this plugin. And what this does is it actually puts a piece of code on every single page on your website. And once this is done, you set and forget it, because what happens is every time you create a new page, you don't have to put this code in. That's the good news. So you've set it in the back end. Every time you create a new page or post, it's included in there, which is great. So there's your Google Analytics Counter Tracker. If you then go and look in the left-hand side here to see if it's there, there we go, Analytics Counter. So I'm going to click on it. So under Settings, Analytics Counter, there's one there as well. So Audience Overview, Visitors Overview. You can actually check the numbers within here, but let's go to the settings because we need to put that tracking code into the actual plugin in order to make it work. All right, there we go. So it's got a free version, it's got a paid version. So what we need to do now is connect our Google Analytics services. So you just click on that button, and because we logged in with Google Analytics, it should pick it up automatically. There we go. It's asking if it can share the details. Click Allow, and Bob's your uncle. So this is what it's asking. It says, enable it tracking code on sub-pages of selected website. Yes. Enable IP anonymization. I have no idea what that means, but I'm leaving it as a yes, and appear in menu for admins only, which is yes. So we click save, and that is done. So it is pretty much sorted. So it's now pulling in the data. It's a brand new website. There won't be any data. So there we go. Since it was recently added, that's perfect. So it takes some time, 24 hours before it starts, and you can then start looking at sort of things. So if you go back to Google Analytics now, okay, and you click on this little icon here on the top left, it'll say your preferences. Just go save preferences. That's fine. So this is the websites we have under here. So if you click on all website data, it then gives you options here. So you can check in real time who is on your website. Obviously there's no one there now, and it'll give you a bit of a talk through of how things work, and there's videos and that sort of thing, so you can check that out. From an audience perspective, overview, it'll show you who's visited your site. There's demographics. It is ridiculous how deep this thing goes. Where it came from under acquisition, and under behavior, site content, all pages, that is where you can find your most popular posts. So with time, obviously, as you get traffic, the numbers will increase. But that's the Google Analytics dashboard, and yeah, just you can get tons and tons of information out there. So it's now just follow those steps, and it'll get onto the tracking code, will get onto your website, and you are good to go. If you've got any questions about that, or if you're struggling technically, please pop those questions into the questions bar, and I'll get them answered as soon as I can.